So, joining us now from the main hall is the First Minister, Salmond, who's been talking to groups of young people at today's event. So, First Minister, I hope you've enjoyed the day so far.
It's great, absolutely fantastic.
So, I guess the first question that we can ask you is, what's so important about events like these?
Well, there's two things. One, all of these type of events, which are happening all over the country, with people getting the chance to ask their questions straight up. I mean, these are really, really important. Secondly, this one's special because it's an audience of young people in particular. Not that young people don't attend the other meetings, of course, but nonetheless, it's specifically addressing concerns and questions that young people have. A lot of people used to think, oh, young folk aren't interested in politics. Now, that never was true. We're maybe not interested in party politics, that's a different thing. But as you can see from the enthusiasm today, lots and lots of young folk are very, very interested indeed in politics.
Yeah, no, there's been a lot of questions about various different things within education and all that, and what in particular sort of focus on jobs as well. There was an announcement this morning about the plan for jobs in the future. So what will be done to sort of get more young people into jobs in Scotland if it was to become independent?
Well, firstly you have to have more jobs, and therefore our plan to see a reindustrialisation of Scotland. Not reindustrialising, bringing back the heavy industries of the past, because there's a limit to what you can do in that, but reindustrialising by going into life sciences jobs, renewable energy, specialised engineering. These are jobs of the future, so you have to have the jobs first, and that's what our plan will do. But secondly, you've got to make sure that these employment opportunities are available to young people. And one of the things we're doing now is we're trying to break down the barriers for people getting experience, and therefore Sir Ian Wood's Commission report about youth unemployment and employment, about saying, look, why don't people start their qualifications at school, HNCs for example, at school, vocational qualifications at school, why isn't there more interrelationship between colleges and workplaces, so that there isn't a barrier between people getting that first start, that first job, that first experience. So some things about expanding the economy, growing the economy, having more jobs, more prosperity, and secondly, specifically, to make sure that young people get that chance as they can be included in that new prosperity.
So 16 and 17-year-olds have the vote, and so what is your plans for the future as a whole, as well as voting? Are you going to keep the same voting if we become an independent Scotland? If we do become an independent Scotland, what's your future for young people as a whole?
16 and 17 years will get the vote in an independent Scotland in all elections, not just this special referendum. I think it's important for reasons I said actually in the talk. I mean, I think if you're old enough to pay taxes, if you're working, you're old enough to vote. But there's another aspect, you see. You think about politicians, they're trying to get votes, all politicians, including this one. Therefore, who's in the electorate is actually quite important. If 16 and 17 year olds in the electorate, that means that politicians pay that bit more attention to 16 and 17 year olds because they're part of the electorate. So I think there's a good democratic reason for that participation, and I think there's going to be a high turnout of young people in this referendum. I think it's going to be a high turnout of everyone in this referendum. I think it's going to be the most energising, creative, wonderful thing that's happened to democracy in Scotland ever, and let's hope it's the right result.
Well, thank you very much, First Minister.